And it's like double dutch, man. Just tell me when to go.
All right, no doubt. We're gonna get started.
Yes, sir.
All right. What's good? What's good? What's good? You tune in Apartment 5B podcast hosted by your man Kel. I got my squad with me today. As always, ladies first. Porsche, what's going on, miss?
How's it going?
Everything is good. Everything is good. Got my brother Ev from Philly in the building. What's going on, bro?
Peace. How you?
No doubt. And yo, this ain't even a special guest no more. This is just family. He done been on the show a million times. My man Trey Lee, what's going on, good brother?
Yo, I'm a regular, man. You know what I mean? What's good, man? How you feeling?
Everything is good. Today's show, this is Porsche's baby. So I'm going to let Porsche kind of talk about where this came from. She hit me one day, was like, yo, Kill, what you think about this for a show? I was like, yo, joint sounds incredible. So Porsche, why don't you explain to everybody what we're going to be chopping it up about today?
Sure. So I guess everyone kind of remembers back in, I would say the end of January-ish, Mace put out a post either on his Instagram or Twitter, I don't know what it was, Facebook, I don't know. But he was kind of calling out Puffy because Puff made a statement at the Grammys talking about we got to start treating artists properly. We got to start treating them fairly, that kind of thing. And Mace kind of called him out on it because he was like, well, I mean, you can find the post. It's all over the internet. But the gist of it was, Puff, you're being a hypocrite. You kind of only gave me 20 G's for Harlem World, and I made you like X amount instead of asking like the industry to like start with yourself first. Basically, we all need to eat. We all need to feed our families. Like you need to make it right, and you need to stop like sort of taking advantage of artists as well and be fair. So that kind of triggered the whole topic. And then coincidentally, I don't know if it was coincidentally, but a week and a half later, Meg Thee Stallion comes out and there's like screenshots of, I don't know what she's saying and complaining about that she got kind of, screwed over in a music industry contract, and she was unaware of it, and she didn't know what they were talking about, and the legalities were so complicated, and she didn't know what she was signing. And then I saw some random posted a screenshot of a picture of a music contract. It was like 4 pictures, and it was like tiny lettering, and he said, he kind of posed the question and he said, read this over and tell me if you would sign this. And so it kind of got the conversation going. And that's when I kind of wrote to Kill, and I was like, no, we need to do this because it's just such an important part of music and specifically hip hop. So that's where it all came to be.
Yeah. And some of the things that Puff was saying, that Mace was saying, he said, for example, you still got my publishing from 20 years ago in which you gave me 20 G's, which makes me never want to work with you as an artist. After, why would you know somebody is robbing you and tarnishing your name? Then he went on to say, so I offered you $2 million in cash just 2 days ago to sell me back my publishing. That always shows you respect. You giving me an opportunity as a 19-year-old. Your response was, well, if I can match what this European guy offered him, that would be the only way that I could get it back, or else I could wait until I'm 50 years old and it'll revert back to me from when I was 19 years old that you brought for 20K. You know what I'm saying? So that's that situation with Mason Puff. And then, like you said, with the Meg Thee Stallion situation, it's crazy. Here's the funny thing about all of this to me. Me and Nay have been like binge watching everything. The New Edition biopic, NWA, Tupac, All Eyes on Me. And it's so funny because as a 14-year-old, she's even like, don't tell me, bad contract. And I'm like, yeah, bad contract, And she's like, yo, daddy, like, yo, New Edition was 1983. And then she showed me the Meg Thee Stallion thing. And she's like, it's 2020. Like, yo, how are people still signing bad contracts, And I'm like, yo, Tip told me in 90 when I was in high school, record companies are shady. You know what I mean? So, which what really got this to me, Porsche, along with what you said was, when people had asked me after the Meg thing, like, yo, well, whose fault do you think it is? And I'm like, yo, you get jerked in 2020, that shit is your fault. Like,
and I got into it with Crooked. So Crook and I went back and forth for a little bit, and he got all his people. Well, he didn't get them. They all kind of came in and started like dragging me and saying like, no, you don't know, legal fees are like this, and lawyers don't even care, and lawyers won't even read it, and half the lawyers don't even understand what's being said anyway. So yeah, there was a lot of conversation in and around whose fault is it, and hopefully we can talk about that too. Like, in this sort of episode. That would be really great.
So the dope thing, anytime business comes up, the first person I think of is Trey, because he's been in the industry. And then on top of that, for folk who don't know, he's now an entertainment lawyer. You know what I mean? So that's like the perfect transition. So anytime somebody's like business, I'm like, boom, Trey. You know what I mean? So Trey, do me a favor, man. Can you take through? And I always gotta give the flowers. And talk about how much this dude's career has meant to me. And it's funny because when I say that, people are like, "Yo, Kill, I'm with you," but you know, how do you talk about his career? He only had one album out. Y'all gotta understand that when Howard in '90, yo, this dude and his crew was already celebrities. Like I've never seen nothing like it before. I swear on everything I own, I've never seen anything like it before. And how these dudes as independent artists were treated like EPMD. Like they were like rappers. And my old head Steve ran with them. And as a freshman, I guess y'all was like juniors and sophomores. I was like looking at them in awe. I was in awe of these dudes. So these dudes had been running the game for so long. So when I talk about the career of Tracy Lee, I'm talking back to 90. I've been hearing this dude put in work since 1990, where the average person starts with 97. I've known about L Rock. That's how I knew him. Knew the boy as L Rock. You know what I mean? So yeah, you know, so I was thinking, Trey, like since you were at Howard, it was the Mecca. We know everybody who came out of Howard, from Puff, E-Dot, the Guru, everybody. Can you walk us through the process of how did you even get your deal? Like how did it come about? How did you get a lawyer? Like, and then as he tells the story, Porsche, Ev, if y'all want to jump in with questions, by all means, please do. But like, so how did it happen? I know you've been rapping, everything, you know. So how did it come about to get started for you?
Well, I think the missing piece is what I'm about to put or inject into the conversation. The missing piece is the anxiousness for the artist to get on. Now, how I got started was I was down at Howard, you know what I'm saying? We like you said, or like you alluded to, we were doing our thing. Even before Steve and them came, I was already there. They are 2 years behind me. So we had started an independent label called Funky Hit Records. Me, my man from Cali, Kwame Anthony, who was DJ Emergency at the time, and my man Cal's on Top. And we were L Rock and the Black Hoods. You know what I'm saying? This is before Steve and One Step Beyond and all of them came down in 90. This was like 88, 89. So, you know, my journey starts way before we get to Howard. So, and I'm saying this because this is an important part with the anxiety or the anxiousness to just get put on at a national scale, right? So, and even before I got to Howard, I was trying to, you know, I was sending my demo tapes to Next Plateau and Def Jam and all these other people in high school. So we're talking about 86, 87, 88, the anxiety to get on. So this career spans from 86 all the way up to the time I actually do get signed in 96. So when Derek Angeletti, D-Dot, the Mad Rapper, super producer, part of the Hitmen, part of Bad Boy, during its apex, you know what I mean? Producer of the Benjamins, for those people that don't know who Derek D. Angeletti and Ron Lawrence are, both of them are at Howard University at the time. And so Derek Angeletti, who has always been in my corner and championed to Mark Pitts, who is the owner of Boss Storm Entertainment, champion, who also went to Howard and came in with me. Derek was the old head. He came in at 86. Me and Mark came in at 88, you know, but Mark, under the tutelage of Puff, who also went to Howard in 87, you know what I'm saying, and worked as an understudy under Puff. Once Puff started popping off and got Bad Boy going and was able to become Big's manager, talking about Mark Pitts, if you will, he was able to parlay that situation into a deal with Universal via Boss Storm. You know what I'm saying? Boss Storm is his baby. You know what I'm saying? Boss Storm is what he created. So once he got his, you know, his distribution deal, if you will, through Boss Storm, I was the first hip hop artist that he signed. And that was because of Derek D. Angeletti. Even though I knew who Mark was and me and Mark knew each other at Howard, it was Derek that actually persuaded him to sign me, along with the late great Notorious B.I.G. because as he was listening to my demos, Big is in the car listening to all of this. And he's kind of co-signing, yo, your man is nice, your man is nice, your man is nice. So once they presented me with an opportunity to sign with By Storm, which is in April of 1996, it was like, oh, finally, after 10 years of me trying to get on, it's right here in front of me, right? So that kind of clouds my ability, if you will, to be able to navigate through the situation, to be able to read the contract like it's supposed to be read, for me to do my due diligence to go find an entertainment attorney. You know what I'm saying? Instead, I found somebody that was an attorney, but not an entertainment attorney, to be able to navigate through the legal jargon of a music recording, if you will, recording contract. So when you get these kind of people to, be your negotiator and to kind of depend on them to guide you through the situation, you are bound to hit a lot of missteps and mishaps and put yourself in a precarious situation that you, in hindsight, would never have put yourself in. In hindsight.
Let me ask you a sec, Trey. Now, because the thing that I hear is that everything is Howard. So under your belief system and doing, like you said, your due diligence and getting the attorney, did you also feel like these are my peoples? Like it's not like I'm somebody like I went to LA and I'm getting with a whole bunch of people I don't know. These are my dudes. This is my crew.
In the forefront, absolutely. So absolutely, I'm thinking if I do miss some stuff, they're gonna show me. You know what I'm saying? If I do miss some things, they're gonna tell me. You know what I'm saying? But again, in hindsight, that's in the forefront. In hindsight, never should have happened. You know what I'm saying? Never, ever. I don't give a damn if it's your brother presenting you with a contract with regards to signing to his label. You get yourself an entertainment attorney that knows the legal jargon of a music or recording contract. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead.
Entertainment attorney, because a lot of folk, I want this to be like music, like them yellow books, like music industry 101 for dummies. You know what I mean? So literally, like, you got to get an entertainment lawyer, because I've heard a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, I got my mom's lawyer to do this," or my parents own a restaurant and the lawyer did. So it's got to be an entertainment lawyer.
It's got to be an entertainment lawyer. It's got to be, because
what is the reason for that?
Because when you start talking about people that do wills, and you start talking about people that set up corps, meaning corporations, business attorneys, when you start talking about, these are specialties, you know what I mean? And so within specialties, there are certain jargon and there are certain standards and there are certain parameters that are set in that particular field that someone that comes in from the outside, even though they may be an attorney, may not understand. They may understand the face of a contract,
but not the implications.
Exactly. Meaning offer, acceptance, mutual assent. Those are the basics of a contract. But the inner workings of a contract involve jargon that is specialized within that particular field. That if that's not your specialty, then you won't understand it.
So it's almost like your back hurts, you ain't gonna go to a podiatrist, you ain't gonna go to a foot doctor. So,
exactly.
The whole premise of it being, if you don't go to the pediatrician for if your tooth hurts, So
even though they're both doctors,
right? Even though they're both doctors,
exactly.
The specialty of it. And I think what happens a lot of times, and Portia, I know you had this question about money, so you can jump in with that, is about just as far as I think for a lot of people, they may not have the money. So it's kind of just like, well, who knows an attorney? Like, I've literally seen cats get on the phone and be like, yo, doesn't your pop's friend an attorney? Like, so Portia, why don't you ask your question about
well, my question was, and this is a direct result of my back and forth with Crook, is what is the going rate, or what is the average rate that someone could expect to pay an attorney just to read over and guide them through this contract, not to take them on as their, attorney for their career, but just for like, do entertainment lawyers do that? Can like, I'm going to be signed. I have a contract with me. I told the label, give me a day. I call you, Trey, and I'm like, hey, can I book a time with you? How long will it take to go over this and just clarify things for me? Is that possible? How much would that run me?
Well, first of all, there is not a standard to that. You know what I mean? It
Right.
varies with each attorney. You know what I
Right.
mean? It varies with the experience of the attorney. When you start talking about consultation, you know what I mean? Consultation could just be a simple 15 to 30-minute phone call on the phone, which could be free for
Right.
some people, or you can charge whatever it is that you think that your worth is. Now, without being ridiculous, it can range anywhere from $200 an hour to $400 an hour, depending on the status of the attorney. You know what I'm saying? And it's all on a case by case basis. I know for me, at this point in the game, I'm 13 years in as a licensed attorney. So my standard fees, like if you're gonna ask me, okay, so what are your fees? And
Right.
I'm gonna spew back at you is $350 an hour, right? Because I can do that based on
Right.
my experience.
Right.
And really that's a lowball situation because I
Right.
try to help people more so than have them come out of their pocket. However, it's also on a case by case basis. I may do it pro bono. And for those
Right.
people that don't know what pro bono is, I may do it for free.
Right.
Or I may say, look, unless you have something on the table where we're negotiating an amount, meaning your advances, and we're just negotiating the deal, then I'll say I'll take a percentage of the advance as opposed to you coming out of your pocket $350 an hour. You know what I'm saying, for my services. But I mean, it all varies.
Right. And I think the great point about that, Portia, is that what I tell a lot of folk is that everybody wants to be a rapper, but has no money behind them. You know what I mean? And it's like, this is not a game you can get in for free. Like, you can't go to Home Depot and decide you want to redo your kitchen, but you don't have no budget for it.
Right.
Anything else in life, we have a budget for. You want to go on vacation? Where you want to go? Okay, well, what's the budget for this vacation? You want to get your roof, you want to get some repairs done to your house, you want to buy some equipment, you got to have a budget. I feel like when getting into hip hop and trying to get a deal, a lot of times people aren't thinking, I need to have this money, because I'm sure you come across people that's like $350. Oh, I ain't got that. You know what I mean?
No, they don't even say that, Kel. They don't say nothing. I never hear from them again.
Right. But the situation is, you had $500 to buy the machine. You had $1,500 to buy the MPC. You had $800 to buy the KRK monitors. Like, you know what I mean? So everything else, we had the money, except when and this is the most important thing. Like, forget all the equipment.
Right.
This is the most important thing, and this is when we want to get cheap. What were you gonna say, Ab?
I had a quick question. Trey, what do you feel? How do you feel when doing an hourly rate as opposed to a retainer? Like, if an artist is coming in, it's like, okay, I'm looking to do this deal with whoever, and this is going to be a long range process. What would you advise most artists in that situation when we're looking at doing hourly rates for just this one contract, or actually, like, I need to keep you on retainer because there's going to be a couple of things coming down the pipeline?
Well, that retainer situation is really like a down payment on the hourly. You know what I'm saying? So basically, if I'm saying I'm $350 an hour, but always the caveat is there's $1,000 retainer on that $350, meaning I'll do, basically, if you do the math, that's 3 hours of work. You know what I'm saying? If you're giving me $1,000, it's a down payment on the hourly. That's because of what you just said, because I got things coming down the pipeline that not only this situation is coming across my desk, but there's some other things coming across my desk as well. You know what I'm saying?
So basically, a retainer is, just for people watching who may not understand, a retainer is basically money you front or you put towards the hours that the lawyer will put in for you. So it still works out to be the same, but but you want the retainer if it's going to be a drawn out process, like Ev mentioned, right?
That's right. Correct.
And again, it goes back to you have to have some type of money behind you to do this. Like anything, you can't get in a drug game with no money. I can't buy no crack with. I need money. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
It's the same.
And unless again, it varies. Just like you bringing in the drug game when people get it on consignment. People get it on consignment because they know that they got some got some backing. You know what I'm saying? So back to the lawyer situation, because I see the situation coming down the pipeline that this may turn into something on consignment, I may just go ahead and do X, Y, and Z for you now because I know it could turn into something later. You dig what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No doubt. The one thing I wanted to bring up about this Meg thing is that I really didn't even know is that the dude who she signed with this I think is 513 Entertainment, I didn't even know he was like a Major League Baseball player. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know that, you know, but just in doing the research for this, you know, and the thing that she was saying is, and the other part was the wild part, and this was like her on IG Live. She was saying things like, look, I'm an independent artist. I do all this myself. It ain't the money. It ain't, you know, it ain't nothing behind me. But then you got the Bull saying, yo, I put up 1.5 million into you. You know what I mean? And it kind of shows me how a lot of times as artists, they don't understand because she's like, these radio spins, I do this. That's me going to the radio station. And I'm like, really, shorty, you really think there's no money that's like padding these pockets? And I talk about it all the time from doing radio for 9 years. There's payola, you know, and there are people who don't, you know, who you could buy YouTube views the same way you buy YouTube views and followers. People been buying record spins since the beginning of the time. You know what I mean? And I think as an artist, and like she was saying is, she was like, you know, I was 19. I read the contract. I really didn't understand it. Woo, 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 which is usually what most people say, you know, but you got to understand that there is money behind you. Like you have to have money behind you. And it just always is not crazy to me, but it's just like in anything else in life, we realize you're not going to go to, you know, the mortgage company trying to buy a house if you know you don't have the money, you know, and I think sometimes we get caught up and maybe it's a dream. So this is my dream. So, you know, I'm not prepared. I'm prepared to know that I have to buy. I'll give you a great example. When me and Tanya got engaged, I brought her the engagement ring, and then they was like, all right, now you got to buy the wedding band. I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Come on, yo. I just spent all the money on the engagement ring. I didn't know I got to buy another ring on top of that. So I think we, like hip-hoppers, they feel like, yo, I just spent out all this money on this equipment. I didn't know now I was going to have to invest even more money into a lawyer.
Well, that's why it was so important for me to explain, at least from my perspective, and this goes way before I got signed. We're gonna take it back to when the Monkey Deals was really real. We're gonna go back to the Motown era, and even before that, when the doo-wop era and all that. Like it was the anxiousness and the anxiety of the artist to just want to be seen and heard. When you have that anxiousness and anxiety, irrational decisions are made. So that goes for even to this day. That's why you continuously see the vicious cycle. You're always going to see the vicious cycle because at that particular time when somebody is offering you the chance to be seen and heard by the masses, you 9 times out of 10. I don't care what examples are out there. I don't care how many times the story has been told, how, you know, the contracts are one-sided, you know what I'm saying, and all this other stuff, because you and your ego wants to be signed and wants to be seen and heard by the masses, you will take that monkey deal 9 times out of 10. That's what I'm saying. And that's the same thing that happened with Megan, and that's the same thing that will continue to happen with all of these artists that feel like that my corner or my neck of the woods, just having that base right there is not good enough. I want to be heard by the world. You see what I'm saying?
Good point. All right, so back to your story. So you got your lawyer, wasn't an entertainment lawyer. How did that work out? Like you signed the contract. Are you happy with the deal at that time?
Oh yeah, I'm elated. Like I told you, because I'm on a major label. It took me 10 years to get here. I'm ready to go now. You know what I'm saying? I'm locked and loaded. I got a $50,000 advance because $50,000 at that time is a lot. Because I just came from, you know what I'm saying, doing some things that I ain't want to do. working at the group, like from you know, that hand to hand to you know, working in the grocery stores, the valet parking, all that. Because my dream and my destiny and my goal is to be a recording artist. You know what I'm saying? So when I signed that deal at that time, that was it. I made it.
What you got, Porsche?
Sorry, I'm laughing because I'm like literally raising my hand like I'm in class. Like,
yeah.
So sorry, I am so sorry to interrupt. Like I love what you're explaining, but I just had a question about advances. So while we're talking about this, is an advance, like, can you explain what an advance means?
Oh yeah.
Is that just because of my understanding from the whole Mace and Puff thing, which interests me more than the Meg the Stallion thing for some reason? To my understanding, the advance is given as like a trade. Like, we'll pay you this advance and you give us like your masters. You give us your material. Is that how it works? Or can you kind of explain further what that is?
Well, an advance usually, okay, so the $50,000 that I got was an advance against the mechanicals, meaning the sales of the records. Okay. So basically, it's a loan.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When you're talking about publishing, when somebody gives you X amount of dollars for a piece of your publishing, that's a sale. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
So you don't get that back. That's saying, in my instance, I sold my 50% of my publishing for the work that I did for Many Faces for $10,000. I did not understand that back then.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? These are the things.
Here's another question for you based on publishing. Bad Boy is one of the, and correct me if I'm wrong, again, the music industry is so incredibly convoluted and there's so much to unravel before you can even understand it. So correct me if I'm wrong, but is Bad Boy one of the only record labels that is also its own publishing? Because isn't there, like, Def Jam outsourced their publishing? So there was another company that if you wanted Def Jam to sort of take care of your publishing, then that's actually now under the umbrella of like Universal and not Def Jam. So now you're splitting your money's being split amongst two companies now because Def Jam's taking a cut and now Universal's taking a cut. Like, how is that, or is that just too much detail?
No. That's not too much detail at all. Basically, to answer your question, no. Bad Boy is not the first and will not be the last to do those type of deals. Okay. By Storm did the same thing. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
By Storm, offered me $10,000 for 50% of the publishing. That is like kind of standard record label. That's embedded in the contract when you sign with a major label. You know what I mean? Because most of the major labels have publishing houses. Sony has a publishing house. Universal has a publishing house. Who else is who's the other major label? Whatever. But most of them have publishing houses. If you're fortunate enough to keep your publishing, then you can go do a side deal with somebody else. You know what I'm saying? And probably sell for a lot more. But generally, most major record labels, in their contracts, they have a recording contract and then they have the publishing contract where they'll offer you X amount of dollars. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how the deals are structured now because these 180 deals and all that, it's a whole nother beast. But when I got involved, there was the recording contract where you would get 10% or a dime off of each, you know what I'm saying, full length recording up to 10 records, you know what I mean? So it would only give you like $1 off of each sale. But you recouped, or should I say that advance that you got, you didn't receive a dime off the mechanicals, meaning you didn't receive a dime off of the record sold until they recouped that advance that they gave you in the first place, in addition to all of the other things that they paid for, meaning your travel, your recording time, your wardrobe for certain things, all of that other stuff starts piling up before you can see a dime off of the sale of your records. But going back to the publishing situation, Bad Boy was not the first, they're not the only, and they definitely won't be the last.
Right.
Hey, Trey, can I ask you a question on the artist side? Can you speak to the ASCAP and BMI and this like age-old debate as far as which one is better for an artist, if there is a such thing as one of them being better than the other?
I mean, they all are performance rights organizations. Basically, they collect the money from any of the spins off of your recordings, meaning anything that's played from an audio perspective, whether it be on the radio, whether it be at a restaurant, whether it be on a television show. They are in charge of collecting the royalties from that particular platform based on your publishing splits. See what I'm saying? So whether one is better than the other, I mean, it's apples and oranges. You know what I mean? Like I'm signed to BMI at the time. I think you had to pay $50 where ASCAP was free, but then they have CSAC, but CSAC is kind of exclusive. They kind of send you an invitation to come over on their side. You know what I mean? But they all serve the same purpose. I don't think one is better than the other. They all like clubs. It's all organized for them to collect the royalties that you don't have the manpower, the willpower, the strength, and the energy to go around chasing who's playing what at what particular time. But it's all predicated on you, if you're an independent, registering your record so that it can be detected. You know what I mean? So that's the major labels do it automatically. But because people are going in the independent route, it would behoove you to do your due diligence to be able to register your records properly in order for them to be detected by these PROs, if you will.
Gotcha.
Now, Porch brought up a good point with the publishing. We've been here, like you said, since the beginning of time. I remember when DOC said he signed over his publishing to Eazy-E for that DOC chain that he had on in the Funky Enough video. We see now with Mace, selling his publishing. So when you were saying that there was a contract that's like almost embedded in the contracts, can you as an artist say, no, I don't want to sell my publishing? Or is that just part of the deal? Yeah,
you can. But whether you get the recording deal after that, we don't know.
Right. That's
you can step away, but they might tell you, look, in order for you to get this recording deal, you got to sign this publishing deal. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. So tell me this. So you're in, you got the deal, you're good with the contract because, like you said, you was doing all this other stuff. You're there, you got your 50,000 advance. What's the now process of recording the album? Are you still good with everybody? D-Dot, everybody is treating good. Everything is love. All right. So
everything is love. I mean, now it's just making the records, man, and it's really getting the opportunity to have these records being heard by the masses. Again, I'm riding that. Now I'm about to be heard wave from the time I signed that deal to maybe 1990, about the end of 98. You know what I'm saying? Because after Many Faces, by the end of 97, Many Faces had fizzled out. You know what I'm saying? After the theme, and then Give It Up Baby was a single that didn't do as well. It's like Universal kind of like, and we had the new wave coming in from Cash Money to the St. Lunatics and all that. Now their interest is in them. And By Storm had actually left and went down to LaFace. So I'm up at Universal literally by myself. You know what I mean? No kind of influence inside of these offices, no type of, and I'm up there, which is frowned upon for an artist to be, knocking on the door of the president of Universal talking about, how we gonna strategize this new album. You know what I mean? So, I'm basically a sitting duck, if you will. So by the time
you said By Storm left for LaFace,
By Storm. I don't know if it was a left situation or Universal dropped them because, the money didn't even out based on the money they put out. What came back, I don't know. I didn't see those books, but
Mark didn't take you with him,
right? So here is the unsolved mystery, if you will. I don't know if it was Mark had the ability to take me with him and just said no, or Universal said, we need an opportunity to make our money back and kept me. You see what I'm saying? those are the muddy waters.
Okay.
Those are the unsolved mysteries to this day. I have no idea.
Okay. So but here's the wild part. So how you literally just woke up one day and you just was like, oh shit, I'm like, it's almost like I feel like you're getting evicted from your house, but you didn't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
no, it's almost like I didn't get evicted from the house. I was still allowed to stay in the house. It's just it wasn't no furniture in there. I woke up one day and the only thing I'm sleeping on is the futon that I was sleeping on. The fridge is gone. You know what I mean? The toilet is gone. All of it except for the futon I'm sleeping on. Wow. That's what it was like. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, where did everything go?
So did you feel like, and you know, as much as you want to share, did you kind of like see it coming? Like, because I almost feel like it was a breakup. So it's like, you know, sometimes in a breakup you could be like, well, we was beefing, or I did throw that chair during that meeting, or
I didn't see it coming. Here's the deal, because we just did, and Porsche, I think you listened in on it. We did a anniversary edition of,
that was one of my favorite IG lives, Trey. It was so awesome. I could not stop tweeting about it. That was phenomenal.
Yo, thank you, man. I mean, it was, and Wayne shared a lot of things that he never shared before in 23 years that I've known him.
Who's Wayne?
Wayne Barrow is the CEO. I don't know if he's the president or the CEO, but basically he's Mark Cousin and his right-hand man, and they both run By Storm, you know what I'm saying, entertainment.
Okay.
So when he came on to the broadcast and started explaining certain things about Many Faces and about the record with me and Big and all this other stuff, in 97, after we released Give It Up Baby, I honestly, and here's a lesson for all you artists as well. I don't know if I was hydroplaning or what, meaning I was riding the wave of the thing. We out there on the road. We doing the shows. They put out Give It Up Baby. I didn't like Give It Up Baby as the second single, and we talked about that. You know what I'm saying? I thought it should have been Stars in the East. But then after that, it felt like, again, everybody's interest had left. But the saving grace for me was, even though, and this speaks to the kind of moxie and the attitude that we had when we talked about this during that podcast or during that stream or whatever, the kind of attitude of moxie that we had as a crew, R&F, we really were oblivious to a lot of things because we just were smelling our own shit. Like, we didn't take the business seriously. We didn't take where we were seriously enough to navigate through it properly. We didn't give a fuck, in other words. And when you're getting on that type of level, you have to give some fucks a little bit to be able to navigate through it. Otherwise, you will continue to think you're the shit, but then you'll get left on the wayside or on the curbside, and you'll just be the shit in your little circle without a game plan. You see what I'm saying? And that's where we were with it. You know what I mean?
Okay, so because the theme was everywhere. You were everywhere. Anywhere you turn, the song was on. You know, keep your hands high. I never understood how, you know, and I guess this is great because I used to see this coming up because I felt like back in the day, we talking 90, you know, Tribe drops Low End. You figure every rapper gets 3 videos. Like, that was like the average back.
Yeah.
You're gonna get the rhyme, you're gonna get the jazz, you're gonna get the scenario. You know, you kind of just expect 3 videos from that. You do the theme, you come back with the second single that doesn't.
No. And then we did get 3 videos. You're right. We got the theme remix with Busta Rhymes. So we got our traditional 3 videos. So go ahead.
But now when it's time you want to do Stars in the East, they want to do Give It to Me, Baby. How does that fight happen? Is that a fight you can even win, or it goes back to how you said earlier? It depends on which status you're on, like what level you're on.
It definitely depends on what level. And I want to give a shout out to By Storm, you know, because of the fact that, and Porsche can attest to this when we were talking, they gave us the opportunity to really kind of navigate our own ship. Like, we produced half that album. You know what I'm saying? Me and my man Parlay. And then D-Dot put his muscle in 2 or 3 of the cuts on the album. You know what I'm saying? We had relative unknowns with regards to producers on Many Faces. So they gave us a lot of control, you know what I mean, as far as the music that we wanted to put out. But generally, when it comes to picking singles, the record company is going to have that final say-so because they need something that they feel like that they can market. The only problem is that Universal didn't really understand hip hop. You know what I'm saying? They understand the commercial viability, but they didn't understand hip hop. And they were young at the particular time. You know what I'm saying? When we got signed in 96, they had just started. Doug Morrison and them had just started to delve into, you know what I'm saying, the culture and hip hop music and stuff like that. So, they didn't know, you know what I mean? And we knew, but as far as hierarchy on the totem pole, we're the artists. Nobody's gonna listen to the artists like that, especially not in a multi-billion-dollar company, you know what I'm saying, that sells, which was at the time partnered with Seagram's, you know what I'm saying? So they, this is just a business venture, and they just happen to put their money into music at the particular time in order to make money. Right. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really a cultural thing with them. So it's like, what's commercially viable? That's where we're going with. Let's throw it up in the wall against the wall and see if it sticks. If it doesn't stick, we out. And so that's what happened. When Give It Up Baby came out, and there wasn't enough time to properly set up Tracy Lee, you know what I'm saying? Because people didn't really know who I was still. They knew that record, but they didn't know me. And I think we talked about that before. So you threw one up against the wall, the theme is stuck. Crazy. Let's throw another one against the wall. Oh, that didn't stick. All right, let's move on to the next. That's the whole idea of commercialism and, you know what I'm saying, entrepreneurship or whatever, anything in business. It's like you move on to the next thing. And so that's essentially what happened.
And it's crazy because I'm just thinking as a fan, they gotta drop Keep Your Hands High with Big. Like how do you not drop the single with
Pause. Tell them the story.
So from what I remember, and Trey, like, fill it in. Yeah, I was like tuned in, that was such a good IG Live. So I think what happened was Puff wouldn't allow this to go because Big was his biggest artist, and he didn't want Trey or anyone piggybacking off of Big's name and credit, like marketability and all of that kind of stuff. So they didn't actually. He wasn't able to do it for that reason because Puff's a douchebag. But Puff is a douchebag. But I will, towards the end of this episode, I will say where I kind of see Puff's side, and so I'm not 100% against Puff in this particular situation. I am because, like. I personally thought, like, when I was listening to this story, my mouth, like, my jaw dropped because I was thinking, like, how dare you, the audacity that you have, that an artist is on the same track as Big, but you're not allowing them to use that as anything. Like, they're not allowed to mention that. Like, that's not fair. That is 100% not fair. That is the snake that Puffy is, and I'm not down with that. Like, I think that has a lot of like ulterior motive embedded in there, and I don't like it because it's 50-50 in my opinion.
And here's the caveat behind all of that, and you're exactly right, Porsche. The thing that I always thought throughout the years is that Puff had a disdain for me. Now, it could have been remnants of that, but really it was Mark and Wayne. Mark, you left the nest too early. I'm not going to give you the ammunition to get on my level.
Okay.
If you understand what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
This is business. I'm not going to give you the ammunition to get on my level. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you what you want to hear in order to, if I don't get my way, then you can't use my guy. Basically, he said, I'm going to offer you an opportunity. Just give me that record. I'm going to offer, quote unquote. I don't know what the offer is. Could be money, whatever. But give me that record. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to put it on Life After Death. He was going to put Keep Your Hands High on Life After Death. Now the thing was, I'm gonna offer and I'm gonna keep Trey on it. That's where the lies come. Even Big was in there. Big had to laugh. They all laughed because they knew Puff was gonna take me off of the joint, but he was gonna use that record as is without me on it. But he told them that he was gonna keep me on it, and I'm gonna offer whatever that offer is if you would give me that record. And so that's where the struggle began because marketing was like, no, I'm not getting this record. So he said, okay, well, you're not going to give me the record, then I'm not going to give you sticker rights. And you can't say the Big is on it.
Yep.
Now, here's the wild part, Trey, because I understand all of that, but I guess I don't understand. And how did Big even get permission to even be on the record? You know what I mean?
Because Mark and them is that's their manager. Like Morgan, like
from the record label, like I used to just always you see the bag of the record label, Trey Lee appears courtesy of By Storm Entertainment, or like my one time I was talking to Guru and he was like, "Yo, it's not fair, Primo can go produce for everybody, but if I want to go jump on somebody else's song, I got to get permission from my record label to do that." So I'm just shocked that Puff. I'm just shocked that we even got Keep Your Hands High. Period. If Puff act like this.
Well, at the end of the day, an artist can do whatever they want, and you can get the bag for it. Is whether or not the label allows them to advertise, market, and promote that you're on the album.
Right.
So there was nothing that Puff could do to stop the recording. There was nothing that Puff can do to stop Big from recording with me. But he could stop the licensing aspect of it, meaning you can't advertise, you can't put this out there and say my man is on it. You know what I'm saying?
So on the back of Many Faces, it doesn't say featuring Notorious Big?
Nah, nowhere.
Oh,
you're not allowed to say that.
Wow. I had no idea. Like I always thought the premise was like you would just be like, "Yo, Kill, I'm gonna hit you this joint with me and Big." Like I didn't think like that it could come out. So basically, what you're saying is Big could record with whoever. Big could come to the camp right here. And me and Big could have done a whole album.
Yep, absolutely.
But I can put it out, but I can't say it's featuring.
Right, because if you do, Puff is going to come knocking at your door and say, we're going to put a stop to that swiftly.
Yeah, they could do a cease and desist. They got to clear they got to have clearance.
Wow.
Puff is the bane of my life in hip hop. He is the bane. Like I cannot explain that enough. Oh.
So if you can't trade, and not to relive it, because I interviewed Most once when I was at 889. He was like, "Come on, nigga, it's like ask me like how'd I get jumped at a party?" You know what I mean? So I don't want to make you relive it, but can you just touch on the frustration? Like, bruh, I got the biggest, hottest rapper in the game. I always tell traders this is no dick riding, nothing like that. You're one of the few MCs who went bar for bar with Big. Like, you know what I mean? And that's not on no dick riding shit. That's
man, look, we all hip hop, brother, and everybody has their opinion. So you speak on whatever it ain't never no D riding, whatever.
I know, but I know
that's how you feel.
Like, you just Trey on your show, you saying it.
They corny. Whoever say that, they corny.
They are, because Phil even mentioned that when we were guest appearing on the Speak Your Clout podcast, and he was talking about his favorite Big joints. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they corny. I don't even pay attention to them no more.
You literally went bar for bar.
Thank you, brother.
One of the best MCs ever, And no disrespect, I'm talking about in terms of fans from the outside, a relatively new MC. You know what I mean? Like you said, for you and I know the history, but for a relatively new MC, to people to this day, I'm still introducing people to that song, which is crazy to me. But now it kind of makes more sense now hearing what I'm saying, hearing what you're saying. But what's the frustration level of we can't use Keep Your Hands High? Like Mark calls you into the like. What is the frustration level of this nigga Puff?
Well, at the time, I thought it was all Puff. You know what I'm saying? And I thought it was all Puff against me again. And that's why this Porsche, you know what I'm saying? That's why that whole conversation was really an eye-opener to me. Because it I'm not gonna say it didn't. I have to reiterate. I'm not gonna say it didn't have anything to do with me. And I called Dot after the conversation, and he told me it was 2 other records he wanted to take. You know what I'm saying? Or offered to take, should I say. And that was the theme in this other joint called Showtime that we had put Faith on in the beginning that I'm going to drop soon. That's back, and it really was the first record that I had recorded with Bostorm. But he wanted that record as well. You know what I mean? And that's because his artist was on that record. But it wasn't a thing that I learned. It wasn't necessarily all about me. It was more, it was a little, I think it still had a little to do with me, but it was more so about the relationship with Mark and him leaving the Bad Boy camp and going to get his own situation. And Puff feeling like this is little brother trying to get out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, and little brother ain't trying to shit on me, but my ego won't allow him to pass me. My ego won't allow him to be even with me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to take away every opportunity. And you got to remember, Puff is controlling everything at that time. Right. Radio, and television.
It's great that you're talking about this because so many people, like, you know, I talk to, you know, on Twitter, just people in regular conversation who just believe like there is no such thing as blackballing. There is no such thing as, you know, these people saying like, you know, I've always believed that I had the opportunity to sit down with Chucky and you know, he didn't say it, but I always believed that, you know, I felt like they was the Hitmen were blackballed after they left Bad Boy, you know, because you're talking about some of the greatest hit makers. You're talking about some of the producers, Chucky Thompson, D. Angeletti, Ron, you know, all of them.
Porsche, how did, I don't mean to cut you off, Kill. Porsche, how did Wayne explain it? He said he always prefaces it as, and I'm not defending it at all, but I have a better understanding of when I do this word that I'm about to say, when I do business with anybody. When you do business with people, especially people when it's not genuine and it's not coming from here and it's about strictly paper, it's about survival of the fittest. Mm-hmm. So you have to go into the whole situation regardless of what the relationship is, especially in this music business, that it really is business and people will cut your throat to win.
Yeah.
That's essentially what Wayne was saying. He don't give a damn if Mark came from up under that umbrella. In business, I'm not going to let you beat me. You see what I'm saying? And that's what it boiled down to. In hindsight, emotionally, back then, I was like, you mother, how dare you? I got, like you said, I got big on this record. How dare you try to shut me down? Nigga, that's personal. You personally attacking me. And I'm like, 20 years later, a little bit to do with me, but more so about my business. My business is, this is the biggest artist I got on my label, right? If I allow this guy to use him, who knows where that shit may go?
Right,
because
exactly. And
even though I don't like
it, and he won't have a grip on it.
Exactly.
He can't predict where it'll go, and he gets none of that because it's outside of his hands. At that point, he's not in control of it, right? So
exactly. And think about this. We talking about that record, and that shit wasn't even advertised, marketed, or promoted, and you didn't even know Big was on this shit. But that was the strength of the record. So just imagine if that shit would have got a little bit of push.
Right.
You know,
I said this on that joint that night, Porsche. I don't even know if I'd have been I would have went to law school.
Yeah, you did say
I would have been out of here.
You said it would have changed. It may have changed my entire trajectory of my entire life. Yeah. Yeah, you did say that.
It's crazy because when you're talking about business, it takes me back to, because, you know, my daughter was asking me, you know, yo, Daddy, you love hip hop, all this. Why aren't you getting a business? And I was telling her when I was at 889 and I was interning at Def Jam, I saw so much shadiness, you know, and everything that you're talking about, that I will cut your neck to get ahead. You know, I understood, like, when I was around like 23, graduating Morgan, and this is all I wanted to do my whole life, was be in the record business game. From the time I saw Crush Groove in 85, that was like somebody saying I want to be a doctor, and they're on that trajectory. That was me at Morgan. It was do the radio station, do the internships, do this. I mean, when I graduated, everybody like, I don't know what the fuck you worried about. You definitely gonna get a job. But from doing the internships, dog, I mean, you are saying it's such a greedy game, and to be able to see that as an intern, I literally had to ask myself, am I willing to change my character? Because to survive in this game, you're gonna have to change your character. You know what I mean? It's almost like the mob. I don't know nobody in the mob who don't got some blood on their hands or something like that.
Well, okay. Let me challenge that a little bit.
All right.
I hear what you're saying, and customarily, I might agree with you. However, I don't think you have to, because so many people think that way that you can kind of get in certain rooms without being seen and change your within that room, change the way people look at you. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you don't necessarily have to play the game that everybody plays. You just got to know the game that everybody plays.
Okay.
But in order for you to play it your way, you have to know the game that they're playing.
Right.
And then you change the trajectory.
And see, I guess for me, the situations I was put in, I was getting shit on as the intern. You know what I mean? Which I understand. I'm the intern, you know.
Sure.
But I just guess for me, and you know, it was just like I felt like I may have to do some grimy shit, and that's not. You know what I mean? So it was like, you know what? And it put me on a whirlwind, because this is all I wanted to do my whole life. This is all the work I've been working up to. And then my mentor was like, "Yo, you should work with kids. I think you're great with kids." I was like, "I fucking hate kids. Why would I work with kids?" Now 20 years later, I'm still working with kids, you know. But, you know, it just felt so, you know, and again, it's almost heartbreaking to me, because, again, you know, I'm a naive. I feel like with hip hop sometimes at 46, I'm still a naive kid. It's like, yo, such didn't write their rhymes. Oh my God. Like, oh man, the Easter Bunny's not real. Like,
listen, you know what's funny? I agree with you, but you'll find a lot of people in the industry like, what does it matter? It does matter. Fuck that.
Right.
Fuck that. Especially as an MC. If you don't write your shit, man,
And I think that's the heartbreaking part, because, again, the naive little kid in me, even at 46, is like, oh, man, that's all Howard alumni. They taking care of each other, Puff up, you know, so it's heartbreaking to hear, like, you know, my little bro, but I'm a slash his throat because he can't be next to me, where I'm naive, like, oh, man, yo, Howard, y'all got that unity. I used to go back to Morgan like, yo, we need that Howard unity, man. Why Howard popping and Morgan ain't popping?
You know what? Hey, I got a question about that. Trey, is that nature or nurture?
Ooh, nice. Woo. Man, listen, I think it's a little bit of both. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's natural, you know, for you to. It's natural once you get in the confines of a setting. Can y'all still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's natural for you to, once you get in the confines of a setting for a long period of time around people, around human beings, that you become one with those human beings. But once you get outside of that particular bubble, if you will, and you go outside and you get into another bubble, you tend to adapt to that particular bubble. And so when you leave outside of what you thought was, when that person leaves the bubble that you knew him in and go, or her in, and they go into that other bubble and you think it's the same, it's not.
Right.
It's not. Because it's a different setting, different environment, different habitat. You know what I'm saying? We're products of the habitat.
True.
You know what I mean? And there are various habitats in this world. So once you get accustomed to one habitat, you know what I'm saying, and you go into the other habitat and you think you could take that same situation into that other habitat, it doesn't work.
Yes, ecosystem. I feel you.
It's the ecosystem.
All right, so you're left at Universal. Mark is in at LaFace. You're knocking on the doors. How does the deal with Universal come to an end?
It's basically, you know, they allowed me to make another album. They gave me another budget. We were able to complete Live from the 215, which I will be dropping on all your streaming platforms. Unheard Records by Kanye, Unheard Records with me and Buckshot and Corrupt and Black Rob. You know what I'm saying?
Slow down.
Yeah, no. Don't slow me down, Kill. Don't slow me down. No. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's a whole nother conversation.
No. But I'm just saying that you're dropping it because I probably was with Steve one day, and when I hear dope songs, I can tell you exactly. Like when I heard Big's Unbelievable, I'm coming back from Oregon, coming off of Lincoln Drive. You had a joint that Steve was playing me on Ogontz Avenue, outside of Pagano's, about. It was almost on some old, and this was before Streets is Watching, where Jay's like, if I shoot you, you famous. If I shoot you, I'm brainless.
Catch 22. Catch 22.
And you was talking about, and this is what I mean by dope songs. That I can tell you where I was at, when it happened, who I was with, and you was talking about how like, yo, if I smash Shorty, she gonna yell rape, but if I don't smash her, I'm the gay rapper.
Yep.
That's on this live from the 215.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Which production wise, shout out to D Dot. You know what I'm saying? Like D Dot is my big bro. D Dot, you know, even though, you know, at certain points we had our differences or whatever, it was never a love lost with me and him. He put me on, he brought me in the game, and he still continues to guide me through certain things. And you know, that's my big brother. So he, you know, executive produced along with myself this live from the 215 album, and the production has stepped up even further. But I'll be remiss if I didn't say that my mentality was different on this album, because I felt like Many Faces people didn't get. Many Faces was a concept that at that time people were not ready for. They were ready for it when T.I. did it. They were ready for when Sweat and Suit came out with Nelly, but they weren't ready for it with me. But it had been people that had been doing that before I even came along, from Slick Rick to Redman to Big to whatever.
And do me a
It's just
favor,
that I did it.
Talk a little bit about what you mean. Like I know what you mean. Like there was Tracy Lee, there was L Rock, the different personalities. But for people watching, talk a little bit about what you mean by what was Many Faces, and like you said, with T.I. and Nelly and them doing it later.
Well, Many Faces was really an introspective look at who Tracy Lee is, and really it was kind of trying to showcase who we all are at certain times and in certain moods and in certain situations. You adapt to your environment, going back to the whole, you know, the ecosystem, but internally, if you will. Many Faces was broken down into characters based off of the moods of the music, you know what I'm saying? Because the music was different across the board. So, you know, you had some certain music that put you in a, you know, a party mood, like The Theme. And you had certain music like Big Willie style would put you in a Mr. Lee mood, which was about your money. And then you had, you know, lyrical moods like, you know what I'm saying, Here Come the Rugged One. That was LR, you know what I'm saying? And then you had L, who was also lyrical, but not as lyrical as LR, which brought you into Who's Crew. And then you had, you know, Trey, who was the ladies' man, would Give It Up Baby. You know what I'm saying? So basically, I classified the moods of the music with a name, which was internally all me. But it was mistaken at that particular time for, you know, he doesn't know what he wants to do. He don't know what direction he wants to go in. I'm really telling you, I'm an MC that's versatile and can do whatever. You know what I'm saying? If you want to get in the mud, I could do that. If you want to make hit records, I could do that. Right. If you want to make radio joints, if you want to make something that you just cruise in your car, I could do that too. I could do whatever it is you want, like, because I'm an MC. This is what I do. But people, you know what I mean, when they listen to it, it's like, at that time. But then somebody else comes along and does the split personality situation, and it's all right. But, you know, timing is everything. And at one point, I was like, yo, how could they? But, you know, when you mature, when you almost 50, this is the beautiful thing about aging gracefully. You see things come around and go around and come around and go around, and you start to see and have epiphanies and start to recognize things for what they are. You know what I'm saying? And that's a blessing, if you will. But that's where, you know, Many Faces into 215 is like, because I was discouraged by the fact that people didn't get Many Faces, it's like, all right, I'm going to come at you live and direct. So live from the 215 was just straight bars, gotta put me in a mentality in a place that, you know, I can go there, but really ain't indicative of who Trey Lee is. I said a lot of reckless shit on there. I ain't gonna front. But you know, it's good though. It's good. You know
all right, you're gonna drop that this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop that this year.
All right, now, this is a great question.
I was just talking about how grim 2020 is looking for releases. So Trey, you're gonna carry 2020 for me. Thank you.
Oh no, not only that, but I'm work. See, I was gonna save this for the end, but I'm working. My pen is moving by itself right now. Wait till you see what I got dropping.
Nice.
Now tell me this. So you do this album, but then what happens? It never comes out. So
it never comes out. We put out We Like, you know, it had Lil Jon and Ludacris, a young Lil Jon and Ludacris in the video, shot by Brian Barber, who is the cat that shoots all of the Outkast stuff and shot the movie Idlewild and all that other stuff. He shot the video. You know, it didn't really get push. It got like released in like the Foot Lockers, like stores and stuff like that in the mall. It would play in rotation there, but there was really no plans to move forward with Trey Lee at Universal. They kind of gave me a nugget, let me finish the album on their dime, and then they dropped me in like 2001 or 2002. I think it was 2001.
Did you have to fight for the label, for the record when they dropped you?
I didn't really ask for it, but it's just sitting and nobody mess with it. So that's why I'm like, well, shit, ain't nobody say nothing. I'm about to drop it myself, and they just gonna have to come after me. You know what I mean?
That was gonna be essentially my next question. Now, like when, because I feel like, and I want to do a show about this and get you back on with this. Is just album. There's so many shelved. I feel like the industry has ruined hip hop so much. You know what I mean? Because there's so many shelved albums, especially from that 95 to 2000 time period, because, you know, Bad Boy was running the radio. So anything hip hop or boom bap or lyrics and bars, I felt like labels didn't know what to do because they was trying to compete with Puff, and we need radio records.
Not until Rawkus came.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean? So there's so many shelved albums, from your album to Gramps' I&I album, the Large Professor's album, all these great albums that we get in 10 and 12 years later. You know, I've always wondered, like, how do they come out? So basically, does Universal own that album? And like you said, fuck it, they just gonna have to come get me. You know what I mean?
I mean, it was on their dime. So if thinking intelligently, you know what I'm saying? I'm thinking that they paid for it is rightfully theirs.
Right.
But they just sitting. So I'm gonna make you move.
All right.
You know what I mean?
I feel that. So you come through this situation. We've seen you go from Howard, getting the deal, getting dropped. What now makes you go on to become an entertainment lawyer? Like, and where was your situation between getting dropped and making that decision to become a lawyer?
It's a grace of God, man. I mean, I moved down to Atlanta, you know what I'm saying? And I lived with my brother, and I was running out of money, and, you know, it was me doing a lot of soul searching and digging, kind of like what I'm doing now. You know what I mean? With everything that's going on with the quarantine, is kind of really digging into myself and really trying to figure out what the next move is. And it really is out of my control, because I still want to make records. But at the same time, I understand the climate is kind of crazy right now. You know what I mean? I did like a independent release called Ready, Willing, and Able, that, you know, got a little burn, you know, and it's crazy because I was on, what was I on? IG, and somebody came in and made a comment on something that I had posted, or either came in one of the feeds, and he's from Detroit, and he was like, yo, and his man, he was talking to his man. I don't know how I got, you know, I think he tagged me, and he was like, yo, you used to burn this record from Trey Lee back in, you know, the early 2000s, man. That was your record. And I didn't understand what record he was talking about. I thought it was the theme or whatever, but it was this record I had called Ready, Willing, and Able that I had just white labeled. Shout out to Marlon Wayans too, because he gave me the cash to press up the copies to really put that out there independently.
So Marlon Wayans. Marlon
Wayans.
Real brother. Okay, that's dope.
My brother, yeah, he went to Howard too, so that's my guy, man. You know what I'm saying? Love Marlon to death, man. You know what I mean? But he sent me the cash to get it pressed up and all that, and it made apparently it made some impact or influence some people across the country, and I never thought that. But I was at a point, it wasn't really making me any money, so I'm stuck. So what do? You know, I'm praying a lot. And then all of a sudden, you know, I think I told you this story before. I went to church. I put my last $7 in the pan, and because $7 what is going to get me, a meal, and then that's it. So once I put that money in the pan, I got a call like maybe 2 days later, and it was from Wayne Barrow, Mark Pitt's right hand, his cousin, you know, part owner, part operator of Bostorm, and said, hey, you know, Universal has a check waiting for you. They just didn't have an address to send it to. You know what I'm saying? So
Wow.
I'm like, all right, bet. You know, and then I call up Universal, I give them the address, and then a week later I get a check for $7,000. You know what I mean? And then
$7,
the week after that, I get another check for $57,000.
Wow.
So now I'm paying off my loans from Howard, you know what I'm saying? My undergrad loans. And now I'm sitting on something, but I still got to go get a job. I started working for Aaron's furniture, moving furniture. I was moving furniture. Like I was walking in people's houses. The thing was still burning on BET. You know what I'm saying? And I'm moving people's couches in their houses, and they looking at the TV and looking at me and looking at the TV like, yo, what the hell are you doing here?
Yo,
So we wound up
crazy. Like that's almost literally like what Kanye say on Kanye's spaceship. Like, yo, ain't you the kid in that Busta video, that Busta Rhymes video? Like, I just seen it the other day. Like, you know what I mean? So that's, you know, but that's real. That's real, man.
Hey, man, and you know, we wind up smoking, and I'm telling them the story and all of that. But it's really the grace of God, dog. I'm a spiritual cat. I'm a firm believer that when the things get out of your control, man, sometimes you just sit still, and meaning not do your due diligence and continue to work, but you can't worry. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, even going through the shit we're going through now. So that's what I did, and this is what happened. And so the epiphany came. Look, there were certain things about the deal and certain things about your experience and certain things about the contract in hindsight that if you had more knowledge, you wouldn't have messed with. So the natural progression, the natural ascension, the natural evolution is learn the business. So what better way to learn the business? Go to law school, but not only to learn the business for yourself, but learn the business for others. And from an egotistical perspective, it's a great branding opportunity as well. You see what I'm saying? Like, who in the hell is an MC that's a lawyer? Who's a national recording artist that's now a lawyer? Nobody.
Right.
Right.
This is why I always say Trey is like a gem in hip hop. I say this quite consistently on my TL all the time. Like, such a gem.
No doubt, Porsche. No doubt,
Because
Porsche. Love you, baby.
So, I mean, it's just so rare that you find someone who's on both sides of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's unbelievable. The insight and wisdom to have from both angles is just wild. Like that is something to actually appreciate daily. Right. And that's why like these shows are so great, is because like, this is like, I don't know. I mean, people should pay attention. I'm like, mind blown. This whole conversation.
It's funny.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say it's interesting because I can see that being an MC and understanding the way the MC thinks, and knowing, you know, when you're deep into your craft in that form and in that way, and the way your mind is moving, to go from here to law makes sense if you're an MC. So it's beautiful when I you know, it was the first time we ever got a chance to actually meet, but talking to Kill and hearing about it, I was like, oh, I can see that. It makes perfect sense. Because
okay.
Go ahead. No,
you go ahead.
I'm gonna keep reiterating the same thing, but go ahead.
Nah. But it's interesting that you said that, because in the conversation I had tonight with Guru, you're right, but it's limited. And let me explain. Because when we was talking about the greatness of Jay-Z, right? And the greatness of Jay-Z is he understands, and this is what I said. They're only in the history of this culture. I said 20. Lenny S comes in and says 20, like question mark, because I was being kind of generous. Really, Lenny S is right. He said maybe 10. There's only about 10 MCs in the history of this culture that has been able to understand both sides of the MC game. True. Meaning, I could spit for the barbershop and I could spit for the radio, and the shit will boom. Not just be okay, not just be I'm talking about like be smashes on both sides of the spectrum. You can't name in the history of this culture.
It ain't that many.
Let's give me the range, 10 to 20 MCs in this game that can effectively be an influence on both sides of the spectrum.
And that's a special kind of craft. That's a special kind of skill.
It's a special place, man. Big is one of those guys. Like Big is one of, you know what I'm saying? Like even Pac can emotionally affect people, but lyrically, he ain't killing the barbershop. He can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm talking about some of the best of the creme de la creme. And so when you talk about that whole, you know, being able to see how me being able to transition into being an attorney, I want to use that example. Like, I can see Jay being an attorney. Jay is a very intelligent guy. I can't see Nas doing that because Nas, true. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I love Nas. You know what I'm saying? But it's like you got to be a critical thinker to be able to do that kind of shit. You know what I'm saying?
The wild part too is with you and Ev correlating the MC to lawyer. It reminds me of the time you came through the crib for a cut that night, and you were talking about how memorizing your cases has been able to help you put down the pen and just memorize your rhymes.
Exactly.
And from when Big told you that years ago and you couldn't do it, but then once you started doing the lawyer thing, you're like, well, if I can memorize these cases, why can't I memorize my rhymes? So it's just dope that correlation of the two things coming together. Let me ask you a couple of questions here. What's a 360 deal?
Oh,
because prior
the devil deal.
There really were no 360 deals. And in doing some research for this show, they said it really started with Live Nation. That Live Nation was the people who started these 360 deals, where not only is the label getting the money from your sales, but any movies you do, any touring, just anything. So can you explain where it came from and why it's the devil deal?
Well, to be frank, the 360, again, I got to go back to the doo-wop era. I got to go back to the Motown era. I got to go back to all of that. Like, that's where it really started. You know what I'm saying? The 360 deal is basically the record company getting a piece of whatever you do. You know what I mean? And the resurgence of the 360 deal came with the internet, because the record labels were not making the money that they were accustomed to back in the I guess the early to late like the 90s. So many records were being sold, it was ridiculous. So once that stopped, record labels had to figure out, well, how can we take advantage of these artists that we're signing, because records aren't being sold like that anymore. Everybody's streaming, everybody's going, that way, and it took them a long time, especially when Napster came, for record labels to, get a hold of this thing. So they had to figure out other streams to be able to make money off their artists. And their justification is that because we're putting you in a position in front of millions of people to be noticed and be heard, that by right, we should be able to, monetize off of everything that you do. So that's what a 360 is, monetizing off of your merch, monetizing off of your shows. Anyway, once you sign that deal, any way that you make money, they want a piece.
Wow. Okay. Tell me this. I always hear producers talking about points, everything like that. What exactly does that mean? You know what I mean? And again, I know, but for everybody, and we'll talk more off camera about Ev. Like, this is my brother right here, Trey. This is my man from Philly.
Right. That's what's up.
That's the closest thing I got to a brother right here.
That's what's up.
We were talking every day, and we would just be like, yo, man, these hip-hop conversations we have, and we got to record this. So that's where the whole writer's bench and how it morphed into Apartment 5B came from. And it was really about great discussions, but it was more about educating the masses about hip-hop. I always joke and say, you can know nothing about hip-hop. You come in and watch all these podcasts, you're going to leave with a master's degree. You know what I mean? You were going
right.
So this episode, when Porsche said this, it was like not only a dope conversation, but I felt a dope place for people to learn. You know what I mean? So that's where a lot of these questions are coming from too. So the points, when a producer is like, yo, I got this many points on the record and that many points, what does that mean?
Points are a percentage, essentially. So when a producer has 1 point, basically the artist, as the artist, you sign a record deal, right? And so when you sign that record deal, let's just say in my particular situation, I signed for 10 points off of each record, which equates to 10 cents.
Okay.
And so when you bring in a producer, it comes out of your, as an artist, it comes out of your point distribution. So when you give a point to a producer,
90%, you're
Right.
getting 2%. But then if
Right.
you get a beat from me, it comes out of your 10%.
out of the artist. So basically, for a record, if I say, okay, first of all, depending on who you are as a producer, you may get, some not I ain't gonna call it upfront cash. It's payment for your services, work for hire, if you will, to own that particular track or own that particular master. So if you are a lesser known artist, it all fluctuates or what have you, but you may get like, $3,000 for the beat, and no points because you don't have the status to be able to negotiate that particular deal. But if you're a known producer, Just Blaze, these tats or whatever, they can say, okay, we want $10,000 for the track and we want 2 points off of the single. You know what I'm saying? Or off of that record. That means that if me, the artist, is getting 10 points, then 2 points got to come from you. So now my distribution goes down to 8. That producer gets 2, plus he gets $10,000.
So at the end of the day, if you got 12 producers and they all want points, like you literally could end up with 0.
No. It's distributed from each record.
Oh,
so yeah, so you get 10 points off of every record.
Okay, off of every record.
So 10 points out of 100 is like a dime.
Okay.
It's like a dime off of $1. Each dollar, every record, and you only get paid for 10 to 12 records. Either it's 10 or 12. Let's just say 10.
Okay.
So you only get paid for 10 records on an album. So anything that you do over 10, you don't get paid for. So if you put 15 records on an album, them extra 5 records, they just like freebies. You're not getting no money off of those.
So in the 90s, when Mofos was like Das Effect's third album, Hold It Down, had to have like 20 songs on it.
They only got paid for 10.
So Capital Punishment has the most exhaustive track list on the entire planet. So Pun gave us 18 friggin' tracks for no
You only
reason.
get paid for 10.
Wow.
That's probably why 11 of them were skits.
And is that just industry standard? Like, I've never heard this. I had no idea. Is that just industry standard?
Nah, that's industry standard, man. You only get paid for 10. Either it's 10 or 12. But let's just say it's 12.
Which is
you only
probably
get anything over that, you don't get paid for.
Which is probably why all these albums now, this sheds some light. Like, we wonder why these albums are coming out with like 8 tracks,
right?
7 tracks. Why are they 22 minutes? Because so now we know that. Right now, this minute, I was right now years old when I found this out. These artists are trying to maximize their return for what they're putting in. So now they're trying to they're cluing in. So we can't be mad at that. I'm actually not mad at that.
Nah, if you're signed to a label, if you're independent, you get paid for all of them.
Right,
now,
exactly.
My part is in doing the research for this show. Right now, there are only 4 major labels: Sony, Universal, EMI, and Warner Music. So if you're not signed to one of those 4 labels, then you're indie. You know, and a lot of people think Rock Nation is a label. That's just management. You know, so if you're not somehow signed to
and they control the venues, which is key.
Right.
They control the majority of the venues, meaning if you're an independent and you want to get into any of those venues, you're gonna have to do a deal with them. You understand?
Right. Now here's the wild part. This was one of the things that the guy was talking about. Let me get his name right. I wrote it down somewhere. I don't know. The Meg Thee Stallion dude, the dude who owns the label, Carl Crawford. What he said was this: But I played sports. In baseball, we have to honor our contracts. She says she signed a contract when she was 20. I signed a contract when I was 17. I understood everything about it. I knew I had to play 5 years to get another contract and then get another contract. She seems to not understand the business of what's going on. She doesn't understand that when you do a contract, you have to honor the contract. I understand she's got big and everything, and it kind of put things into some type of perspective, like with sports. Like once once LeBron signs that contract, that's that contract, and you have to honor it. Tell me
Wait a minute. You can outperform your contract too.
Yes. I was just going to say, so here's the thing. And I was thinking about this with Mace because, again, I'm more interested in the Mace and Puffy side of things for some reason than I am with any other artist and contract issue. Mace got signed when he was 19, and he had like not very much under his belt to kind of negotiate with. So, I mean, this is where I was saying, like, I can't really, Puff is the bane of my life, but on the same side, I have to kind of defend Puff too, because he takes in somebody who he knows nothing about and then blows them up to beyond whatever they could have been. And I have to give credit to Puff for that, because Mace, we know prior to Puff, was not that. So he
was Children of the Corn.
Right, like he can't walk into Bad Boy with negotiating power. He just doesn't have it. If he had Harlem World before he met Puff, then he would have negotiating power, right? Because then
i.e. Master P.
Exactly. So Puff at the same time puts a value on himself. And oftentimes when I read these back and forths on the TL, when artists are, people just side with the artist, it's the first mistake I think artists do is they undervalue themselves. Because if you can properly value yourself, then you can walk in with something, and then you don't say yes to everything, right?
The thing with that, in line with what Trey just said with Master P, on Solange's last album, or 2 albums ago, Cranes in the Sky, Master P is doing interludes throughout it. And he talks about how, like you just said, Porsche, valuing yourself. He was like, yo, if this white man is offering me $1 million, then that tells me I'm worth more.
Right.
And he was saying during the interludes how his brother was like, yo, you bugging, you ain't gonna take that deal. And he was like, nah, if this white man offering me $1 million, that means I'm worth 10 million.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just crazy. Both of y'all correlating with that of, like you said, Master P, and the same thing with valuing yourself. And I think it goes right back to what you said, Trey, in the beginning about just being anxious. If you want to deal and you want to do that, then it's kind of just like you said, I got to get on, and it's the only reason why I said in 2020, I try to be very descriptive with the things I say. I didn't say in 1984, if you got jerked, that's on you, or 1998.
Right.
2020 with the internet, where I don't know shit about being a plumber. During this quarantine, I could come out a goddamn plumber just from watching YouTube. Okay. So there are, and even Trey, we talk about this. I got this book back in 1993. All you need to know about the record industry by Donald S. Passman.
Yeah, I got that.
The head of the radio station when I first got my job, my man Ray had this record. He was like, yo, gave it to me. Said, yo, if you want it in this game, read this. When me and some of my peoples were starting a little production company back in 98, it was like 5 of them. One of them was my sister. I told them first day we got together to meet, we went to Barnes and Nobles. I told all of them to buy this fucking book. And they was like, nah, kid, we don't need that book. You know everything. I'm like, nope, because we ain't going to get caught up in some shit. And 10 years later, you saying I robbed you and I took advantage of you. Buy this book. Before every meeting, we would talk about each chapter we read. And this is back in the 90s where you could just buy a book. You know what I mean? So in Raka Our Science, who's in Dilated Peoples, they had a DVD and they were talking about how there was an issue he was having, and that his lawyer was like dragging his feet with this contract issues. He said he just locked down, went to the library for 9 hours, did his due diligence, came out with the answer, fired his lawyer. So that's just what I mean by, if you get jerked in 2020, that's on you. Not saying like, I'm just saying you have to take ownership of Porsche, what you're saying, what your value is. And if you're really that nice, then you have to also do the research. Again, the same research.
Well, here's the thing is Mace is coming at Puff however many years later, because now he's got hindsight. Where was this? Like, hindsight is a tremendous tool.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, you can't time travel back and use it, right? So here's the thing, like Mace didn't know Harlem World was going to do what it did. Mace didn't know what Puff was going to do with him. So he thought 20 G's was fine.
Yep.
If he knew he had and that's why I always say, like, people who like give people all these accolades based off of potential, prove that potential. Like, sign a contract rather than signing a contract for however many years and doing it that way. Be like, you know what? I'm going to give you one album and we'll renegotiate right after release. Give me, like, okay, I think I can do this, and I think I can go platinum, you know, like 6 months after release. We're going to negotiate on the 6-month mark because I know that I'm going to have buying power at that point. I don't know if that's possible.
But the hard part of that, I would think of what Trey was saying earlier, is you're a nobody. Mostly everybody who's getting their record deal at that
is a nobody.
Is a nobody.
Right.
So the only way you have bargaining power is, like you said, Master P. You know, as bargaining power now, Griselda. Westside can go in and determine whatever deal he wants because he doesn't need.
But they've already signed the deal.
Right, but I mean, like, just based on what they were doing before that. You know, he, like you said with Master P, like all the units they were moving even before they signed the Shady was crazy. You know what I mean? But I feel like because we have the internet, you have more independent artists who can do those things versus what you could do back in the 90s. Like, I'm sure you had all this great music, but I don't know if you could prove, oh, I sold X amount of CDs. We didn't have CD burners. You couldn't burn up your CDs to sell at that point.
Well, here's the missing link, because before the 90s, there was when did Too Short come out? End of the 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
45.
Right. Okay, so we have that example as well. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing that's the missing piece to all of this with regards to moving forward and understanding if you have value or not. The things that P understood and Short understood and E40 understood and what's my man down south, Rap a Lot, and understood. The thing that you got to understand and have is a plan and the means to facilitate the plan, whatever the plan is. Mm-hmm. Whether it be you want to do it regionally, whether you want to do it, you know, across certain states, whether you want to do it across the map, whether you want to do it across the globe. And that's the reason why most people want to sign a deal, because they want to get heard across the globe, as opposed to understanding that you can make an impact right in your region, right in your town, and expand from there and make just as much, if not more, money doing it that way, as opposed to getting your name and face across the globe. So the foresight comes with the plan. If you don't have a plan and you just think you're a nice MC and you make good music, then you're gonna run for that deal. You're gonna sprint to that deal as soon as a deal comes at you. If you understand that maybe my music is okay, cool, but I can effectuate things that go on in not only my area, because I see how people respond to what I'm doing, and take that outside of just not only my town, but in my township, then in my city, then in my state, and make it bubble like that with the money to support it, because that's the part that you gotta have. That's the reason why people run to these labels, because they have the money to support the vision. Then that's when you are able to understand your worth and be able to negotiate based on your worth.
And you know,
these are the things that a lot of these MCs don't, and a lot of these artists don't understand. You got to have a plan, man, and the money to support the plan.
And the thing I love about what you just said about that, and that a lot of people leave out, is the money. Mm-hmm. Because the money is, and me and Ev did a T-shirt line, and it was like just trying to get the money. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things where, like I always say, because every person that you named or that we think of had their hand in the streets. Mm-hmm. So that you had money that you don't mind. Like anybody else, like if I'm like, yo, Trey, I got this dope kids book I want to do. Yo, can I borrow 5 G's? And you lend me that 5 G's, you gonna be like, all right, Kill, it's been 6 months. Where my 5 G's? Like, I need that back. Like, you know,
that's the record company. Right. That's the record company.
Exactly. So it's the same thing, like you said, unless you have that, and it's so funny because it's me being naive again, and the yellow brick road, and if I just make dope music, they'll come. West Side Gun was on I forgot which show, and he was just talking about like, look, I was in the street getting the money for Conway and Biddy. Like that was me. I'm in the streets. They need money for whatever. There it is. The problem is if you're not in the streets, then you don't have that kind of money. You know what I mean? Or you don't have it to get it back. Like for instance, I always say at Jay-Z, can Jay-Z make reasonable doubt if he's working UPS? Probably not, because how are you paying Primo for these beats?
So then you curtail your plan. See, that's what I'm saying. They were trying to get that kind of money to be able to expand as far as they could go.
Right.
So maybe your expansion is not that far, but that's not for you to be discouraged by.
Right.
You just got to curtail your plan based off of your bank. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You got to curtail your plan based off of your bank and have patience and faith in what you're doing based off of that.
Right. Right. And I think the thing is, and what I loved about what you said is it's the plan and it's the money.
Yep.
You know, and being able to call that audible when maybe your plan doesn't link up with your money. You know,
that's right. There you go, Kill. There you go, Kill.
Worldwide. So now
there you go, Kill.
Together to kind of get it right there, you know, because again, you know, when me and Ed was doing the t-shirt line, it's like we like, oh, here's a G a piece. We like, oh my God, $1,000. Like, yo, my wife, we start doing the t-shirts. We like, yo, with G ain't shit, man. We can only press out 5 t-shirts. I'm doing photo shoots. I'm like, bro, can I get that t-shirt back? Like, you know what I mean? And you realize, like, you know, for us, it was like, man, 2 G's, that's a lot of money. But when you really look at what you need to really try to start a clothing company, you need, you know, big time money. So I love what you're saying just about
it. And it'll grow. That's the thing. A lot of us lose patience. You know what I'm saying? It'll grow. If you believe in it, if you really, really believe in it, I don't care. Like you gotta, you know, you just gotta keep the vision, keep the big time vision, because that's what's going to keep you motivated and going. But understand that you got to start off at a certain spot, but keep that belief system. You know what I mean? Because the minute you start losing faith, you know what I mean? And that's when it all dwindles away. You know what I mean? You got to see it out. You got to see it through. The great ones see it through. Right. You know what I'm saying? People that's in it for the part-time or people that's in it for the temporary fix, they never see it through and it always fails. The great ones see it through. They didn't just happen overnight for nobody.
Right.
Understand it.
That's a million jewels. That's so much dope. Prayerfully, people are paying attention. Prayerfully, people are watching. You know, and like I said, the thing that really stood out, especially about this Meg situation, where the dude Carl Crawford was saying, "Yo, I put 1.5 million into making Meg." Which, wow. You know what I mean? Because I'm not up on Meg's music, but one day I didn't know who Meg Thee Stallion was, and the next day I did. You know, right. A lot of people believe like, oh, she just worked hard. And again, it's no knock on her. I'm sure she did work hard, but 1.5 million, I think if you do 1.5 million, I can make anybody a damn star too. And she kind of cute, don't mind being naked. Oh, we really you give me 1.5 million, we blowing up boots in here as a Yorkie. Like, you know, like
and I know Carl Crawford, man. He was a good baseball player, man.
You know, and it was just fun because again, it just again goes to show me how you gotta find somebody who has that money. Yep. If you want to blow to that level,
find
That's that money where people like an NBA player could be like, oh, here's $1 million. Like, yo, I just signed a deal for 110 million. Yo, you want to do a little label? Do your little label over there. You know what I mean? And they're not going to be pressing you for that money back so quickly. You know what I mean? But yo, man, I appreciate it. Where can people get at you? And here's the dopest part about Porch. This is how I love how everything comes together. Me and RJ Payne talking about doing music. Guess who's representing RJ Payne now? Trey Lee. You know what I mean?
Oh, of course.
Right. You know, so
you know what I mean,
that's amazing.
It's a
hey, look. I I'm the silent assassin, man, and of course, I recognize great MCs. That's the beauty of me being in the business position that I'm in. So I don't just, you know, and no diss and no slight to anybody out there, but you know, I got a lot of things going on. I'm a married man with 2 young kids with a full-time gig. So my time is kind of precious, a little something. So when I put my energy and time into something, it got to be crazy. And RJ is crazy.
RJ's crazy.
He's crazy.
He's crazy. He was one of my album choices for last year when we did a show about it, because Leatherface 2 was nuts, out of this world.
Yeah, that dude's psycho, man.
Yeah, so it was just dope to see it all come together. But Trey, where can they get at you? Because everybody, anytime somebody asks me anything about industry stuff, I'm like, get at Trey. Get at Trey.
Right.
Where can they get at you?
Hey, man, I appreciate it, man. You can get at me on Twitter, TRAYLEE. That's at TRAYLEE, Trey Lee. You can get at me on IG, Tracy Lee ESQ, TRACEYLEEESQ. If you still do Facebook, that's really like for the family and friends, you know what I'm saying? That's just straight Trey Lee, or Tracy Lee, should I say. I got a fan page over there and a regular page. And then, you know, my email is, or my website is tracyleemusic.com, TRACEYLEE music.com. And I think that's about it, man. You know what I mean?
No doubt. Porsche, let them know where they can get at you, miss.
Twitter at Chershayla Porsche. That's it.
All right.
See, I should have been like you, man. I need to simplify. You know what I mean?
Nah.
I'm just boring. I don't have enough going on. I wish I could be like Portia Z's music. I wish I could say that. Yeah.
That's like Batman over there. She don't want to be bothered. Don't bother. Yeah, where can they get at you, good brother?
Twitter is Mental151 and Instagram is Evasis.
And you already know what it is with me. Well, some of y'all don't. My 889 account is still suspended. So for now, it's Kill at Apartment 5B, Kill 889 on the IG. We'll make beats for food where everything is up there. Trey, hold on for a second after we dead the show, because I want to talk some stuff with you about with Ev.
Sure.
Like that. So hold tight. Good looking for all this stuff, Ev. Prayerfully, folk, take notes. This is the beginning of Music Industry 101 for Dummies. Again, the number one thing I walked away with, Trey, and it's so important that I never thought about again, just how excited you are to do something, because that's when you get duped. And it's funny because from doing my marriage coaching, I tell so many young women that who want to get married, like that's their goal, and they just fall for anything. So the first dude who kicks some good game and you just because you want to be married so bad, they're like, I'm 35, my mom is bugging me, I don't got this kid, and then you get into this bad marriage because, like you said, you if that's what your goal is, you literally sprint to it. And I see it so much. So it's like the correlation is just perfect between the two of having to be patient and not praying for a husband, but praying for the right husband. So not praying for the deal, but praying for the right deal and not being so anxious. So artists, if you didn't learn anything else from this show, please don't be anxious. You know, this is a marathon. This game is not a sprint. You know, Trey already told you he's been sending out demos since 86. Didn't get his deal till 97. That's 11 years. You know, so this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. So just be patient. For my young ladies out there who want to get married, be patient, y'all. I'm telling y'all, there's nothing worse than getting in a bad marriage and then trying to get out. It's literally the same fucking thing.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Record deal is like trying to get out of a bad marriage. You got
the same thing.
So again,
hey, cool, real quick, I just got to shout out Porsche for a great idea for a show. He said that a minute ago, and this ain't come from me. This came from Porsche.
That's so sweet. Thank you. But I wanted to shout you guys out, actually, like you, Ev and Trey, and of course Kill. But you guys, like, honestly, from the MC standpoint, Ev is so involved in artistic stuff in general. He speaks to a lot of things that, like, I as a fan and just a listener, I don't view and see. I appreciate it so much. And Trey, I mean, from the IG lives, I mean, this quarantine has become a blessing from all of the hip hop that I've been able to intake throughout these IG lives. I mean, it's been wonderful. And all of the gems that people are just missing when they're not viewing and tuning in and all that kind of stuff. So if anything, like, please follow these guys, because they're just filled with knowledge and insight and wisdom to aspects that, I mean, I'm not in this area, so I don't know, but it's just tremendous. So thank you guys. And of course,
bless you, sister, bless you, Ev. You know what I'm saying? Thank y'all, man. Bless you too, Kill. Absolutely.
No doubt. Like I said, man, this brother Trey Lee, great guy. Porsche asked me about the show. I said, let me reach out to Trey. Next day, Trey hits me up like, yo, you good with the quarantine? Like, woo, woo, woo. And I always tell people, and I never take this, you know, lightly, about how Twitter can be used. You know, I know a lot of people use Twitter just to talk shit or follow their favorite celebrity. I look at it differently. The fact that I was able to link with Trey and Grap, who's also in the DMV area, who are both two of my favorite MCs. Like, and that's not on some shit just because now I know them, but like these dudes are two of my favorite MCs. So to be able to have your favorite, imagine being able to have your favorite MC call you to check in on you during the quarantine. Like,
Yeah, no kidding.
that's some
No
real
kidding.
shit right there. You know what I mean?
Grap
Like,
is tremendous.
you know what I mean? And the same thing with Grap. The fact that Grap will call me like, yo, Kill, you good? It's like, yo, this motherfucker Grap lover is calling me. Like, that's just all through social media. So I appreciate y'all. As always, we'll check y'all next week, y'all.
Take care.
Peace.
No doubt.